welcome back to the LEC. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit speechless after the game. I think we all are. And so rather than immediately start with talking, let's start with watching and take a look back at the final moments of that game. Nail biter as G2 are able to pull out the win, but there was one moment I think that is going to haunt, especially Mad Lions Myrwn. We're about to get the replay on your screen, but in the meantime,
it's so cruel showing this. Like as a top laner, seeing after you had such a good game, a moment like this is very, very sad to see. Because this was a big turning point in the late game. I think Mad had crawled back for so long. Myrwn had so many clutch fights, but then getting caught like this, sadly, makes it very easy for G2 to just crawl back.
Yeah, and we were joking backstage. It feels like how many times have we seen AD carries in these positions where they're overextended? It's like unskippable cutscenes where they just have to go that bit too far forward, Myrwn the victim there. But this game was bonkers. Like everything about this, there was so many times it was like, this has to be the end, but then one clutch fight, then one clutch moment brings it back, or one overextension from Alvaro and Myrwn. It felt like there was so many moments where this could have broken either way, but eventually, by some miracle, G2 were able to pull it back.
I mean, we're sitting backstage, we're like, maybe we should grab this way, maybe we should grab this replay, maybe we should grab that replay. Guys, there's too many replays to talk about, right? We can get the draft up on the screen, we can break down a little bit of the theory here, but just understand that there was a lot of the theory on how this game should work for the first 20 minutes. After that, it just went completely off the rail. But as a thought experiment, let's talk about a little bit about how it should work. How do we feel about the Galio coming in from Fresskowy?
I mean, I think the Galio actually tied together to come, because I think without Galio, you don't get this long game. Because I think without the Galio, then G2 has very easy plays to make on both side ends, but now because of the Galio, whoever G2 wanted to make a dive on, they had a Galio to come hover with the ult, because when Vi ults in, she will be an easy target for the Galio to just ult the same target. So, especially the early top dive on the Myrwn, where he got like a kill, really helped it for the early game.
Yeah, and I think the Galio was perfect because it bought so much space in fights. Like, you could see times Hansama just couldn't get in on the Draven because he couldn't quite find his angle of attack. There was a lot of stuff where he wanted to push forward, or G2 wanted to try and engage, but just that Galio ult was buying so much opportunities for them to kite back. And I think that's when the grand scheme of things where G2 started to struggle. It was only like really one fight, two fights where they really found the big success. And you can see here in the early stages, I loved this play top. Like, great read here from Fresskowy to say chances are G2 are going top. Immediately gets the cover. Elyoya is in position as well. They're able to turn this around. And I really wanted to highlight just how strong Fresskowy was in the early game at dictating the pace and finding these moments where MDK could come back.
I mean, we kept saying that I think the Zeri matchup is rather hard for her, because Kennen does have that all-in pressure, and if this doesn't happen, I think Kennen, as we saw, he was bullying the Zeri early, but because of this is why Myrwn was able to be so strong this game, because he actually got this early help from the Galio.
And frankly, for a lot of the stages of the early game, once Myrwn did get that advantage, it really looked like they were going to just run away with the game, but then we take a look at Caps and some of these mid-game fights, and yeah, there's a million fights. So we'll go to the first one that was especially crazy, where Caps is able to pull off this triple kill. Again, a fight that probably just should not have happened, and that's a big reason why G2 were able to stay in a game where they're at such a disadvantageous state.
Yeah, I mean, I hear Caps is pulled the rabbit out of a hat. G2 has this fight with Kennen tipping in, Zeri's top hitting plates, and it's very hectic. They're trying to go on the S-shot, but then S will ease out, so they turn on the targets. In the end, they're almost all dying, and it's just Caps gonna end up here in the end in a 1v3 scenario, where he somehow miraculously manages to clean them all up here. Kennen is gonna die, but he's gonna stand there with Tibbers. I guess it's a 2v3 because he has Tibbers on his side.
Well, yeah, we heard about them. Captures talk about it too. You just get an Ivern too. You just overload them. Pure sheer force of numbers. Get a Yorick. Get a Heimerdinger. What are they?
All the
where do you draw the line?
Yeah,
where do you? What counts as a teammate? The Sire play the teammates?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Hansama on Draven though is a hell of a teammate, and that's the other thing I want to talk about, because I think a lot of the after that initial comeback from Caps when he gets that triple kill, a lot of the fights that look good for them are Hansama on this Draven. By the end of the game, it's so much more about engages and positioning and less about the individual stars, but Hansama, a man who has to be respected on this pick, again, has not lost domestically on this champion since joining G2. Did lose at MSI, for you international fans, of course, but 12-0 now domestically is incredibly impressive.
But we talked about it in the draft. We were like, look, you can ban Kai'Sa, you can ban Draven, but MDK thought that Caps was more of a problem, and you get to see the results on your screen. Hansama had a great game on the Draven, was consistently in position to try and do damage. Now, at times, obviously, we already highlighted, like, he struggled at points to get past the Galio ult, but the second he did, he was chunking health bars, and there was very little that MDK could do to stop him.
And I really wonder how will this affect the draft for next game. Are actually MDK gonna come in and want, because now they ban the Kalista, now that they ban the Draven, if they do they have to ban a Draven or do they have an answer to this? Because they can't just come into the next game and end up with an AD carry that is just 1k gold ahead at like 15 minutes like this game was.
Yeah, it's a really difficult puzzle to solve. And I think the other question that we're going to ask every single game we see MDK play now, especially because they are again on red side, is like, what else is Myrwn cooking? Apparently every AD carry known to man, but this is something that has been a constant thorn in the side for G2. And as much as in those final moments, you know, those are going to haunt Myrwn a bit for how he was caught out of position, he has still been a big threat. In some games, yes, it has required more support from the team, but there's just been a lot of unique things happening in draft that have really defined this series.
Can I just get one Aurora game, please? I've been begging for so long for an Aurora game, and I was so hyped this weekend coming in, just finally enabled. Goes for yesterday, and I thought sure that today we're gonna get one game, and it's been permabanned ever since.
This is the series where you should get it, right? Because eventually, if you ban enough Myrwn champs and enough Hansama champs, Aurora has to slip through, right?
But I'm kind of just over this Kennen, to be honest. I think Myrwn's having good matchups because we consistently see this Kennen, but it hasn't been game defining for me. The MDK have had answers. This time it was a double exhaust that they were able to threaten him pretty consistently in fights. The last game too was the Vex. I kind of just want to see this Kennen dropped and then you force Myrwn onto something else, or you just match.
Well, we'll see what the focus is going to be. The champs we're looking at, Aurora, please pick it. Kennen, maybe not. Casters, you can take it away for this game 4. Game 4. No, 4. We're gonna call it 4.
4?
Yeah, it works.
4 score,
yeah,
7 years ago.
Funny and charming.
Game 3 started, and now we're here for Game 4.
Yeah, I've got to call out my boy Dagda. I disagree with
Me
him.
too.
Okay. Kennen, I think, has been broken. I think Kennen, like, I agree with him in terms of the laning phase and the advantages that Myrwn has gotten. But to say that Broken Blade, like, the Kennen hasn't been game-defining, I really disagree with that. I think that some of his ultis have completely changed the landscape of how things have played out. So,
And I'll just put it out here, Dagda. If you want to come up to the caster desk and settle this man-to-man, I can take a seat.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can take Eragon and
We're
Vedius.
allowed to have differing opinions. We'll see if... What opinion G2 shares? What will the ban strategy be?
My question
will we
is...
get to see Aurora?
No. My question is, do we see a run back of the same draft for the 4th game in a row where it's like full dive with the Vi composition into full disengage again from Mad Lions Koi because they're opting into the same thing? The Vi is stronger now. The Morgana is banned.
They've said, we've had enough of that nonsense. So things like the Corki, they may just prioritize the Corki themselves. I wonder if it's like Corki first pick, maybe for G2?
It could be. I think I'm also looking at other picks like the Ashe that could go through. I mean, Zeri, also a ban away. Potentially, I think you do ban Corki if you're G2 because you don't want to give over the potential pick for Myrwn as well, right? The flex. I mean, that was definitely his best showing this series.
It's just debatable if you want to B1 it or not, right?
Yeah.
Could still flex it. We haven't seen Broken Blade on the pick as of yet, but the last time before this series we saw Corki top in the LEC was Broken Blade back in 2022, so he has some experience on the champ. As a reminder, before we get further into the picks and bans, stakes! This is the season finals. The winner of this will face Fnatic, and the winner of that series is guaranteed a spot at Worlds, whether it be G2, Fnatic, or Mad Lions. Koi, G2 have already locked their spot, of course, but if G2 fall to the losers bracket, making the finals will definitely take you to Worlds. Mad Lions, Koi have made the last 4 Worlds in a row.
If G2 win, don't Fnatic just lock a spot at Worlds?
Yes, if G2 win this series, Fnatic are at Worlds, yes.
Yeah.
So something I was thinking about was this Poppy ban. It lines up Rell really nicely and also Vi, so they could have run back a Rell Vi comp. So what Mad Lions have thought, you know what we can do? We can deny Vi, and that way we break up, we use your setup bans against you, we use the fact that you ban Poppy and we take the Vi ourselves, and we actually play your composition that you played this entire series. It's sort of becoming the series method.
What do you think about Desire here for G2?
Yeah, I mean, Yike's played it a bunch. I think you could
my instinct is that, like, what's good into dive, and I just love champions that try to dive into the Zyra.
Same goes for Braum.
And also it's just good follow-up on like a Rell, right? Once the Rell engage comes through, you just throw the ultimate out. I think it's both good for disengage or following up on an engage. But I mean, we haven't seen AP junglers really prioritized at all in this series. We have seen the Elyoya? No, we've seen the Ezreal. Yeah. The Ezreal will be a super high priority pick for Mad Lions. They flex it mid, they put it AD carry, so we don't know yet where it's going. G2 though, I mean, going for an early Kai'Sa into the Ezreal does make sense. Also gives you a bit of self-peel against a champion like Vi, who does have that potential lockdown.
I quite like Ivan and stuff like this into champions like Vi, where you just shield the target they're going onto. But it definitely could be an angle where you just go AP junglers as well. Or just go for a Sejuani. That was a classic for BB.
Oh,
That's new.
Okay, so Vi dives in, you pop the paranoia, no one can see who she's on. That's the strategy, it's the anti-dive.
Or we both dive in and we abandon our AD carries.
It's literally just G2 saying, oh, you want to dive? Well, we're going to go double dive. Cannon is still up and available. I wonder if it's going to get banned away in the second half as Mad Lions look to round out their draft. Maybe they just want to grab... I think a Braum could be pretty good here.
Braum could be good. Nautilus, Alistair as well. All options. But yeah, going to sort out for the Braum versus the dive.
I can tell you right now, Nocturne, when he ults in, he's trying to lock down that Ezreal. Like, the core thing is that Ezreal's E alone isn't actually enough to break the tether, as long as you time the tether correctly. But Braum makes it very miserable.
So the reason why I was a bit hesitant on the Braum a little bit is because it doesn't give that much follow-up on the Vi ultimate, which was something like an Alistair would. So now you need dive from somewhere else, I feel like. Otherwise, you're playing a Vi which in just a front-to-back scenario. So I'm looking at champions like Camille, who can dive forward, as well as Myrwn. But the problem is they haven't been playing that style. Maybe the Kennen for Myrwn, that can dive forward. Regardless, though, you have a bunch of different champions that can synergize really well with both of these junglers. Dive works really well with both of them. Nocturne, in particular, you know, when you use the paranoia, the darkness can allow for these crazy flanks. And that's why we used to see stuff like Nico as well. With
I was just thinking Nico, yeah. Annie could also be a pick as well. Things like big AoEs are just good into Braum, right? Because obviously his big advantage is being able to block stuff that's heading towards him. But like Annie Tibbers just falls on top of you. The Nico comes from beneath you. Zyra ultimate, like all these various things can be very effective into champion like Braum.
Yeah. Immediately with the LeBlanc ban, I feel like they're setting up for something like an Azir. Azir blind kind of works okay with the Vi. You can kind of dive forward sometimes. I feel like it'd be a bit susceptible to the Nocturne dive. So that's usually what the LeBlanc ban indicates. There's the Kennen.
Because I'm looking at G2's comp here, and I'm also thinking about things like the Camille could also be really good for them, but you don't really want to blind pick a Camille, especially in Myrwn's Wonder Factory champion pool that we don't know what he's going to pump out this time.
Yeah, I think Yone could be a good pick, contested by both. Yone's pretty good with the Vi and the dive on top. I mean, Varuspan signals to me, you know, maybe Renekton priority as well.
That is a triple flex for Mad Lions,
and Zeri flex is still up and available too, so they could go for that.
So where will Mad Lions go with their first pick of this second phase? Zeri makes the most sense because, as you say, still flexible enough. You can always put the Ezreal into mid, take Zeri for Supa.
It's an insane double flexer.
Yeah. And then G2 will have to answer basically a blind top laner.
Rare do you see G2 on the receiving end of the flex draft strategy that they often implement to put that pressure on teams. But right now, they are definitely under that pressure.
I think Camille could be good here. The problem is now you need a blind that works into potential AD carries and a counter pick on R5. And that's really hard for G2 to find. You could go Camille and concede lane a little bit, but that could be kind of risky.
Mundo!
You're Renekton. I think Mundo can be countered by something like an Aatrox really hard. So it's a K'Sante blind.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, sure.
The one thing that works into everything, K'Sante. And Orianna to round out. The knock Orianna combo, something that we've seen so many times.
What's that, like Season 3, Season 2 even?
It's even happening at the start of this year, I want to say.
Well, my point is it's an age-old combo, right? Traditional, in the same way that Orianna Jarvan. She's just a great mage that's very good at following up on dive champions without being a dive champion herself. Ultimately, a classical mid lane mage is something that is rare in our current day and age.
We love AD carries.
Yeah, and Mad Lions Core really embracing what is the current meta. It is definitely interesting how we've kind of got old school versus new school here.
It's so gross. Is it Smolder top for more stacks?
Yeah, it's really good into K'Sante, right? This is something that pros have been playing, Smolder into K'Sante, because you get the free scale. And there's really not much you could do outside of level 6, where if you miss position, you can be run down. Myrwn has definitely been practicing it, and he's locked it in now. Fresskowy, I thought it might be as mid, but it looks like it's Zeri mid as well.
Do you lane swap? Obviously, a G2. Mainly, purely with the intent of denying the Smolder early levels and maybe getting K'Sante a few levels under his
the lane isn't that bad. It just gives you just get free stacks. I don't think you'd want to avoid a matchup particularly here. I think it's kind of fine. Bot lane could be a little bit worrying. I'm also looking at the level 1 potentially from the Braum Ezreal, see what they can flex with.
It's true. It's a good one. Orianna really doesn't offer much at level 1, that's for sure.
I think that maybe with Vi, it could be a little bit tricky because the level 1 isn't so great, but a lot of scaling coming from MDK, particularly on that top side. A lot less agency from Myrwn though. He's not going to be up in your face taking 50 billion plates. It is a very slow scaling thing where you can stack up really freely.
I think if MDK can be patient, I like their comp.
Okay.
The question is, can they be patient?
They were in game 2.
Not in game 1, though.
Not in game 1, and in game 3 it was a little of a mix of the both.
We saw everything in game 3.
Yeah, we did. Feels like an age ago now that we started that game, but for MDK they need to win this or be demoted to the losers bracket. For G2, just another step on a path they have trod before, and we'll be looking to tread for the 4th time this year on their way to the grand finals. MDK have shown great signs compared to where they were in summer, where they were in playoffs. Here we see Alvaro and Mikyx butting heads early on. Alvaro wins that because he has range at level 1 with the Winter's Bite.
I've got to really say, they've traded denying the Vi for a cohesive composition here. Their composition, it really doesn't make much sense. You have loads of kiteback with the Braum, with the Ezreal, with the Smolder, but then you have a Vi just chilling, right? You can't really do anything on this Vi proactively because there's no dive follow-up. So, nameplates off. I favor G2 a lot more.
You say no dive follow-up, but I see an arcane shift, a dash across the wall from the Zeri, and Smolder flapping his way onto the backline, man.
I will say that, you made the comment about nameplates off.
Oh.
Hang on.
Supa only has Mystic Shot here.
Oh, Supa!
He doesn't know that Mikyx's here. Mikyx's going to jump in, flash away from Supa. Yike on the chase as well. Caps looking for that flank position, but they're not going to go any further.
Going to overstay their welcome. So flash going to be lost for Supa. Not the end of the world, but especially against a Nocturne who's primarily going to power farm. Fresskowy going to be taking the Zeri mids. We have seen these AD carries flexed all across the board in this series. But yeah, when you talked about the nameplates off, huge credit to MDK, a team that limped into playoffs, a team that ended up getting 2-0'd by KC to get knocked out, and then basically qualified to the season finals on points. Heavy underdogs going up against our winners of the summer split, and they should have won game 2, really. Sorry, game 3.
They did win game 2.
They did win game 2, and so they've been a lot more competitive than I think many expected them to be, and their draft approach has been working to their credit, and they're going to stick with it here in game 4. We'll see if they can bring us to a game 5 as level 2 is secured, and G2's bot lane's forced to disengage.
And Mikyx wisely jumps away, gets the shield, eats a Mystic Shot. And again, it's the story that we've seen in every game so far. Supa and Alvaro getting the early push, kind of to be expected in this lane. The threat of Braum, Ezreal early on, as you said, with the rising spell force, that passive, basically 50% extra attack speed early on if you can hit your spells. Caps in the mid lane being traded on by Fresskowy, who can't find that final bit of burst fire to take down the Orianna in mid.
I do wonder, with the lack of flash on Supa, if Nocturne wraps around back down to bot side and ganks down in bot, it could hurt their ability to perma push down 2v2 when their lane phase is supposed to be really strong. But then again, that 2v2 might be a little bit, sorry, that 3v3 rather, might be a little bit scary. Yike gonna path to the red buff, last to maintain that red buff for a very long time in terms of the 1v1 and just general jungle play.
Advantage of getting to run 2 bots, unlike Caps, so Caps going to have a small health advantage. Mikyx mainly just here to cover as the AD carries face off in the bot lane. Alvaro providing that same level of cover. Nice trade there from Caps. Fresskowy now definitely in kill range, and so Alvaro kind of has to come to help clear out this wave.
Ooh, that hits.
Yeah.
Freeze, but he
Flash from Fresskowy! Flash away by Caps. The Ultra Shock laser they're hitting when it had gone through the wall. It is a bit deceptive. The hitbox kind of extends back behind the wall where it was. Caps eats a chunk of his HP for it. Yike coming across here, but Elyoya already charging up the Vault Breaker, looking for those concussive blows. They find it. Ultra laser across the wall as well, and Yike will fall to first blood. It's Elyoya that takes it.
Yike, a little bit greedy there with his flash. He doesn't flash the initial Braum Q. He had the passive mark on him. He thought he could live long enough or potentially not get stunned at all. Getting caught in the river there. A nice little skirmish from MDK.
Okay, first to find that first blood once again. Nice punish from them. Bit of an overcommitment from G2. Oh, the Ignite. A Hylissang classic from Mikyx as he delays the back from Fresskowy, giving Caps the opportunity to push out this wave if he wants. Of course, the TP from Fresskowy means that he's unlikely to really lose much. Just well, with the cannon minion, it's unlikely to be able to freeze there, but yeah, meanwhile in the top lane, kind of things going as you described, Eragon, just Neowin chilling, stacking away.
It's not oppressive, it's not that
annoying.
bad. But you have that nagging feeling in your head that you're getting stacked on consistently, every single queue, right? So you feel really bad, and then typically you get stacked really quickly.
There's a fly in your room,
yeah, exactly.
and you're trying to game, and then there's just buzzing around your head.
It's not like you're leaning against a vein and you want to cry, but you're just annoyed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, Broken Blade adequately annoyed in the top lane right now with 38 stacks for Myrwn early on, 5 minutes in. For the 225 around the 20-minute mark or so. Depends on the lane, obviously. When you're playing into 2 people, it's a little bit easier to stack it up because obviously as you hit your abilities on opponents, you get more stacks alongside farming them with that super Scorcher Breath, I believe it's called. It is. Caps here. Is dealing with a 2v1 for the moment. Mikyx is in the wings in case Caps needs support, but Caps just trying to freeze the wave away from Fresskowy.
This game's really annoying for Caps. You really want to ideally play in isolation with the control mage into the AD carry, because naturally you can win, right? But there's been so much jungle and support attention to mid that he just cannot play in isolation. 3v3, he's got to consistently keep that in mind, and he's also, you know, been ganked and had his flash forced as well. Too much volatility for control mages isn't a good thing, and it really disrupts how they want to play and their play pattern. And you can see it manifesting here. Caps finding trades even in the 1v3, but he's never going to mount anything that substantial like a back force.
I mean, he's doing very well in the matchup. Probably the first throughout the series where he's been able to find that individual lead, even with all this pressure being thrown down towards him. Mikyx choosing to stay on the bot side of the map. He has been starved of XP a decent amount. They're looking for the play.
Super Splash about to come back off cooldown. He already uses the Arcane Shift. Hansama can't quite get enough damage with the Plasma Barrier invested by Supa. In the end, it will just be the Summoner burnt on the Ezreal.
Credit to Supa for surviving. All the attention to mid is going to convert into grubs, whilst Supa actually survives.
Wow, okay, talk about annoying. The grub going to interrupt Yike's back as Elyoya cleans that one up. Ultimately, though, kind of a tepid early game as we've been seeing throughout this series.
Just because we had like 60 kills in the last game doesn't mean that 1 at 6 minutes isn't the end of the world. But, you know, it's fine. We're
That's
okay.
what I mean. I'm just saying tepid, slow.
Tepid is fine.
Yeah, it's a chill early game.
Just need the break, you know.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm okay.
Go make yourself a cup of tea. Keep the headphones on in case something does happen. Then you have time. You can order that pizza.
Yeah, I mean,
Treat
normally
yourself.
what I do back in the day when I was good at League, I used to play games in between the breaks because I believed I had enough time.
Yeah.
So there's probably people now playing their game and like they're using the early game to finish off their game right now.
The problem is now our transition time is like 12 minutes, and in the past it was like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So you did have time in those
true.
days. Now, no
But, you know,
longer
you got
the
time
case.
to finish a game, you know, as we chill in the early game. These
No,
team
you don't.
four
Just
level
FF.
6. I believe in you. You can still win. Alvaro gonna get stunned up.
There's someone out there hostaging a solo queue game, and you're like, it's like, oh no, guys, Vedius said he believed in me.
He's gonna write that in all chat.
I'm
Guys, Vedius
0-7
believes
in
in
lane,
me.
but it's fine.
Look at top side. Yike has level 6, the Nocturne ultimate.
So this is the window, right? If Broken Blade is a good actor here, he cannot scare him away. There we go.
Go in with the paranoia, knock him into the wall, looking for the all-out, and with the beer back, Myrwn has no escape. Yike gets the first kill for G2.
I do have to ask a question though. Was he spotted on that ward? If we get a replay, like I feel like with the wards in the river, he should have been spotted walking up, yet Myrwn still chose to walk underneath the tower. He ends up getting caught. The good news for MDK is that Elyoya is in a position where he can cross-map for the dragon, so it's going to be a kill for objective, and I don't think they are going to be too upset about that.
Regardless of if he got spotted, I think I want to give credit to Broken Blade there, being a good actor, not making it obvious that the gank was coming, and instead using the flash to flash W forward and set up the gank. That's the problem with Smolder, right? This is the post-6 level 6 window where you are very easily gank set upable on, and Yike just punishes. It's a nice play.
Yeah, the problem for Myrwn now is he has no flash. He's got the flat, but if Broken Blade gets him near a wall, that's an all-out, just pulling him away. We'll have another look at this. Yeah, he's spotted.
He spots it, yeah.
You literally see him.
Yeah,
This is Myrwn greeting for a plate. That's what happened there.
I think you're right. Maybe he believed that, no.
Oh, he gets the plate though, so it's
He
worth.
does get
He got the 125 gold. Good death.
I mean,
All right.
gonna accelerate him to that Shojin where he's gonna be really, really comfortable. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie, most Smolders tops, they die a lot, right? Because it's so vulnerable and super susceptible to ganks, because it's not that conventional of a top laner, that you just die a bunch and you eventually scale up. Think of it as like a hybrid of something like a Kayle and an Nasus. It's very, very similar.
Listen, the last Kayle I remember was, I think it was the Shy, and I'm used to, yeah, that's a good comparison, I get that.
Plating is worth, in my eyes. He goes back top now, he should be fine. I think there's definitely a regank angle if they ever send the support up to top side with Mikyx and Yike.
It's also the threat of paranoia interfere, right? I'm not sure if the flat takes you away from that tether range quickly enough. We already had the mechanics of the arcane shift tether. As,
Yeah, I still have
can chase
loads of Nocturne tech, just because I
Yeah.
don't play him anymore. I still remember it all. Bit of fun fact, Nocturne trivia.
Yeah, hit us. We
go
have
on.
a tepid early game according to you.
Your
So.
Q gives you bonus AD, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people believe that if you ult into Q and you Q in mid-air, you can get the bonus AD before it connects and you'll do bonus damage. But that's not how it works. The damage is determined beforehand. Speaking of Caps, he might take a lot of damage.
Flash in by Elyoya, and he does.
Nice.
He does take a lot of damage, Vedi. Well predicted there. Cap dies.
A nice three-man gank at the mid.
So I was a little bit worried about how MDK would secure these grubs because you had no flash on the Smolder, right, from the previous gank. So it was a bit scary for him to enter River, but finding a pick on the
top
Caps
lane
is what they need.
All out onto Myrwn. Razork is here.
Ooh,
Pass
nice.
maker out by Broken Blade. Myrwn flaps across the wall. Mom has been called. Ring ring. The paranoia coming in. TP in as well by Caps. They jump
Wait, what?
instead onto Razork. Straight
Yike?
past
They had no vision.
Myrwn. Elyoya, no, sorry, onto Elyoya, not Razork. Elyoya gets away. Yeah, okay, Yike went for the jungler thinking they could kill him. The shockwave has been invested, and in the end they will kill Myrwn, but for it they'll sacrifice Mikyx and Yike, which is bizarre to say the least.
A catastrophe in the
It was
top
so
lane.
confusing, I thought Fnatic were playing, man.
Yike ulted Elyoya, I'm pretty sure,
He had no
because he
vision.
had no vision.
But then
So
they whiffed the ultimate combo of
I
the
mean, that
Orianna
makes
and the
sense,
Nocturne.
That
everything
makes more
went
sense.
wrong for G2. Went wrong for Medic too. Like, I mean, you can see Mad Lions Koi, they are just kind of continuing to find these advantages. I mean, G2 were able to find that nice pick onto Myrwn to start with, but Broken Blade forcing a play, not respecting that Elyoya was hovering around the top side of the map, ended up creating a numbers advantage, and then the TP started flying in into what was a very favorable situation for MDK.
So this looks really good, right? Because then the W from Broken Blade negates the CC from the Vi, which looks fantastic as well. But Myrwn, he gets out, he flaps over the wall. And Broken Blade, he gets layered with CC on from the ultimate.
You're 100% right.
Now, the thing is, I wonder if this screams maybe in practice, because these aren't very popular combos right now. The combo whiffs. Oh no, they didn't use the combo.
Yeah.
There we go then. That makes more sense.
And all the flashes come through. It's a numbers advantage for MDK. Really nice collapse from them. And they're able to, at the very least, get one kill G2. But MDK, they walk away with, what, 3, 4 even? I think it's
3.
It was 3, yeah.
But they got Caps in the mid lane before.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I wonder if there was a world where they wait on the Nocturne ulti until Orianna TP's in, maybe a little bit later, and they could find the layer on the CC. But regardless, it's going to be a losing play. And now you have lane swap into top side. I mean, it looks like bot lane plates could be taken if you're BB here, which is super nice. But he has no TP to potentially join this fight in the mid lane if it starts.
He's flanking Elyoya here, running towards mid instead, trying to cover. Elyoya able to dash out with the Vault Breaker. Hansama on his way across. Mikyx, no TP. And look for the engage. There's the paranoia. Cease and desist out by Elyoya to try and survive. Hansama able to dodge away with the Killer Instinct as well, but Supa can open up from the side. Mikyx's already down. Yike, short to follow. And MDK collapse once again, as you say, no TP for Broken Blade to join the battle.
Let's do an activity together where we look at the items, okay? There is an Archangel Staff and Boots for Hansama versus the Unbreakable of Alvaro, the Sundered Sky for Elyoya, and the Blade of the Ruin King for Fresskowy. G2 can't take these fights. I mean, MDK more than happy to take that skirmish, and they find themselves another 2 kills.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You have the crossmap going down in bot side without a TP, so they can commit to that, but they want to do both. They want to make a quick play with the burst damage that they have from the Nocturne Orianna, as well as take platings down bot.
Supa here, Caps puts down the ball, but hey, Mickey, this is a Mickey game. This is the most Mickey game he's had this series, I'm gonna be honest. That's 3 in about as many minutes, and Caps is gonna pay for it as well. It's a double for Supa. Like, MDK played that well, but Mickey literally died, ran out, jumped in, died again.
This is the early game that we saw from G2 in the finals.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought that we saw an improvement based on the first game of this series, but MDK just continues as the series has gone on, and I think a lot of it is due to the draft. Now, Broken Blade gonna try and Cassante, but I don't think he can...
Nah, the flashing away apparently is this style of Cassante. He does do everything, so being a coward in these moments as well is part of that retinue.
I do think the biggest thing this game has been the fact that they've really shut down Caps, right? They've just sent 3 people mid the entire time. I talked about it before in terms of how Orianna wants to play, where she wants the stronger jungler and to be able to be left in isolation, shadowed as well, to be able to bully out the mid lane, but they just have not allowed Caps to do that, and because of that...
If I were to take a quote from Kadrill, it would be Season 2 champ versus Season 12 champ, right?
The years, dude.
I mean, we talked about it, right? Coming into the draft, this is a very, like, almost old school draft, like, very traditional dive. This is how you used to kind of implement that versus the multi-AD carry threats that we see in the current meta. And I think the reality is that MDK had prio top, they had prio mid, they had prio bot, and they've been playing around their prio very well. And with the Fire, they have stronger early skirmishing. And thanks to the Braum, Alvaro, like, we probably haven't sung his praises enough. He has been in the right place at the right time consistently throughout this game, which just gives them advantages in these early game skirmishes. And the gold speaks for itself. MDK with a fantastic early advantage. But now the question is, can they close the game out? Because unfortunately, we've seen G2 in this situation many times, and many teams have gotten these leads, and they haven't been able to close things out.
I mean, realistically, what the problem they have is there's so many threats on the side of MDK where if you pop one person, you got to deal with two more usually, right? So it's really about chaining these picks continuously over and over and over again until you amass a decent enough lead, and you can play off those numbers advantages as well.
Yeah, Myrwn's almost at that 225 stack mark as well, currently sitting at 174. And it's not just Fresskowy, Supa, and Myrwn who are threats. You also have Elyoya, who's 4-0-3, has the Sundered Sky complete.
That's really fast. I mean, usually 225 stacks, a fast mark is about 19 to 20 minutes. I think that's really quick, but that's naturally how it works in top lane, right? You have the Cassante to keep hitting.
Oh, we'll see when he does get to the 225, because he's still 50 away, so he has a little bit of time. Mikyx. Oh, Mikyx. Okay. Elyoya, I think he could have killed him there, but you didn't know who was coming behind him, so decides that discretion is the better form of valor and backs away. The rest of the map relatively stable right now between these two teams. Drake up in 2.5. The Rift Herald available to Elyoya as well if MDK want to try and crack this mid lane tier 1.
Credit to Elyoya, pretty consistently outside of game 1. Like, the objective control has just been in MDK's favor. Grubs, Dragons, they've been able to find those advantages.
It's a really accelerated schedule here as well. 18 minutes for the third Drake. It's like a 23-minute soul. They are looking for this Smolder. Still no flash. The paranoia coming in, and Myrwn is sent packing. They're looking for more as Elyoya goes in with the cease and desist, but Broken Blade can tank that one for days. The shutdown over the Yike. And the goal begins to even out just a tad.
So they solved the chaos by committing all 5 members top. They end up securing 2 kills. G2 make it work, and they should secure another objective. They leave open the mid lane tower. Nice interrupt there from Supa. Only connects up to 1, though.
I actually think Caps shielded as well, so the True Shot Barrage was eaten by the shield, so the back wasn't stopped. That's why he stepped out and then shielded one of the people that was facing there. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what it looked like to me.
That's going to be 2 towers, meanwhile, on the rest of the map for MDK. And so they'll hold on to their gold lead for now, which is fine. You can see the difference really starting to develop in mid lane. Fresskowy with the Zeri, going to be a menace.
Yeah, it's a good punish onto the flashless Myrwn, having no sums. You can see Elyoya really did read it as well, but you know what beats AD carries? Let's send full dive. That's what they've been doing all series. Elyoya can't save against 5 people, and it doesn't matter at this point. Broken Blade can tank tower indefinitely. There's a nice play, but it's a good cross-map play. You get in a tier 1 tower, which is a huge, mid lane tier 1 tower, which is a huge objective because it allows you to do so much, as well as bot tier 1 isolated onto Fresskowy, so they're going to be even more enabled now as well. You see 2 items coming in for the Zeri.
And they've set up nicely for the top lane as well. Immediately, both Elyoya and Alvaro grouping back up. At the start of the day, Finn talked about how when we saw the best version of MDK, it was when the jungle and support were working together, and we've been seeing it more and more throughout this series. Nice setup on the top side with good vision, as our observers are highlighting for us now. This enabled them to secure that at a tower as G2 cross maps on the other side. Ultimately, that's 3 outer towers now secured for MDK. They put themselves in a good spot, and they hold on to their mid tower.
Drake up in 20 seconds time would be the 3rd of the game for MDK. You can see Elyoya trying to set up vision around there. Currently relatively even in terms of vision control. Supa puts down a control ward. MDK will sweep out some of the river, so now they have no superficial vision in the G2 jungle, but control of the river at least.
I do think it's on G2 here. If they can ever find a trigger pull on the mid lane wave, I think that's the best route to go about it. I mean, MDK are going to try and fight for the wave control, right? In this kind of river area as well.
Alvaro can dash with the stand beside me. Broken Blade was looking for a little bit more. Broken Blade very tanky. Iceborne Gauntlet and the Thorn Mail already complete on him. Fresskowy can put some damage down. He'll dash away. True Shot Barrage coming out as well. There's the Fisher going wide. Few honey fruit eaten by G2. Paranoia available for Yike. Can put the map into darkness. Mikyx looking for that flank, but Fresskowy's there to mark him. The Dragon down to 7,000. Mom called. Ring, they stay Killer Instinct on the back line immediately. They dive into Fresskowy. Mikyx the one to get the kill. Paranoia onto the back as well as Myrwn trying to dash away. Elyoya jumping in onto Yike, who flashes across the wall, but the chase continues. And Chew, the Smolder sneezing all over you, but now with MDK locked in the Magnus Storm, isn't enough for G2. They have 2 surviving, so do MDK, and Supa's one of them. He opens up onto Mikyx, on some of the last alive for G2, but Elyoya sends him back in a body bag.
Elyoya is huge, cleaning up the fight. What was so close at the end, they're managing to find all the kills. Take a look at that, 2 items on Elyoya, and just even though G2 found the engage, there were still so many threats to clean up the fight.
It starts with an initial pick onto Fresskowy, but they commit a lot of resources and then decide to follow up with the dive anyway. You've got to recognize that getting that single kill with this many damage threats on the side of MDK is not going to be enough. The chain CC is good, the shockwave connects, but that's basically 3 ultimates used on the top side. Then Yike goes in and there's no more follow-up left. Mikyx is dismounted. Broken Blade finds a nice clutch play here where he connects onto Myrwn to spread up the fight. But then Supa goes over the wall, the re-engage comes in from Elyoya, and it ends up being a 1 fight for MDK.
The static shift proc there was absolutely massive for the damage, but it just wasn't enough. Elyoya here is so fed, he just auto-attacks them to death. And this is what I'm talking about, right? You have a great comp to find a pick, but then you need to be able to leverage that numbers advantage, and you can't because the rest are so fed as well. Even at 4v5, they lose.
I think Dylan might be slightly mad. I believe my lip reading skills aren't the best, but I think that was a "what are we doing" in that moment. So, alongside Swiffer, we have a competition for the angriest coach in any given moment.
It's one of those things where, you know, obviously people are frustrated with the AD carry mid meta that we see in pro play, and one of the frustrating things about it is just the extended damage that they consistently have in fights, right? And Orianna, once she's used her ultimate, that's not to say that she can't do anything in the fight, but relative to an AD carry, it just pales in comparison. And Caps, without his mobility as well, you look at Fresskowy, Supa, and
drive-by balling. Oh, they can't quite get the ball on towards Yike in time. He's going to chase forward though, and with the fear tether back, Myrwn has no escape. G2 find a pick in the side lane. I
mean, it's the story of the series, right? Overextending AD carries into picks. Now Nash is up. Are they going to try and flex it? They do have a decent amount of Nash damage.
TP's coming down for it. Caps kept his ultimate too.
I think they need to. 3 AD carries. They outscale so hard here.
X-Flash over the wall onto Alvaro. There's the Shadowing Strike. He can dash back with the stand beside me. Yike at half HP, but he'll heal up a little bit if someone else tanks the Baron for them. Yeah, I agree.
That was a TP invested from Caps, and he's really not going to get anything for it. Just going to go back to base, make his way back towards bot. Say that, he's cancelled it.
Alvaro.
What's the game plan?
That ward is not spotted by the controller because it's right by the wall. BB trying to dash into the backline. Glacier Fisher coming down, but they pull Alvaro across with the all-out. And Alvaro pays the price for stepping a little bit too far forward. Elyoya looking for that flank position. Summer. Surprise target if you can find him. A prey to catch. Elyoya doesn't dash in, but Broken Blade chases a chunk from Supa, who is sitting at 2.5 items. Elyoya still looking for that flank position. Yike has the spell shield if he wants to try and block. Myrwn back with the team, does have the TP as well if he's sent to another lane to farm it up.
I mean, the chunked health bars here, they have so much dash damage. I mean, I really do think they could potentially pull the trigger here because someone has to recall on the side of G2. It's so much pressure when Elyoya is just holding Q and channeling Q because you have to run if you're G2. And in the meantime, you're just getting clobbered by auto attacks from the AD carries from the side of MDK. It was a really hard fight to navigate, but once again, these picks, they don't convert into anything.
I will say though, Summer continues to get stronger. Kind of been the moniker of him in this series. A bit of a quiet early game, then kind of torpedoing into a strong mid and late game. Kaiser finds himself at 3-1 and 3. Oh, there's a pause.
There we go.
All right. Well, I needed a moment to breathe. So I feel like the next fight can decide the series pretty much. I believe it was G2 who have paused, but we'll find out the exact reasons and exactly who it was when we get the opportunity. It is 2 items on Summer with the Ginsus and the static shift complete. You can see Caps' dad there standing in the audience, always cheering on his son.
And when we kind of take stock of the game, basically, as you may have already noticed, it's MDK with about a 4k gold lead. A lot of that gold lead...
We actually paused when they're on exactly 44,000.4 gold with 4 turrets taken. If there was a Jhin in the game...
14 kills. Yeah, no, you're totally right.
That's pretty cool.
The 4th dragon is about to spawn in about a minute and a half.
Wow.
The only thing that ruined it with Grubs, really.
Supa has 4 assists.
Oh my god.
Nice.
So
As does Fresskowy, right?
Oh wow, the pause
It's
content.
the numbers. We're getting out the pause, thankfully. We'll be
I think
getting
it was
back
only
into the
4
game.
minutes, that pause, so anyway.
What is your perception of time? There's no way that was 4 minutes long.
This is game 4.
I forget.
Oh.
I forget. Anyway, getting back into the action. 1 minute 30 until the next Infernal Dragon. It will be a different soul, Medic. You muted yourself when you pressed nice.
I was talking to our producers.
Oh, I see. I thought you were saying nice to me. And again, take stock of the itemization, the gold differences. You can see that in terms of items, not really that different. You know, like, even though the gold is favoring, you can see that, like, both sides sitting at about 2 items, an extra component coming through for MDK. Doesn't mean that it's that significant. Oh,
Season desist onto Hans. Summer does have the flash, does have the barrier, doesn't expend either. G2 were looking for a long flank behind MDK, but Hans is down and MDK turn their eyes towards the Baron.
I really do love that pick, just because of how, like, deep they had to go to get it. Like, the position of Hansa was he was basically underneath his tower, and he still gets caught out, loses the barrier, and now MDK can start off the Baron.
And the key component of the dive composition dies. It's really hard to play if you're G2 here. Now, you do have the Nocturne Orianna combo if you want to try and fight it, but you have no dive from a Kai'Sa.
He's going to face check. There's the paranoia. On the front line is Alvaro chasing Yike away. Broken Blade looking for the back line. Myrwn flashes over. Magnet Storm in by Mikyx. Fresskowy going in with a lightning crash, and Broken Blade can't tank this for too much longer. MDK keep G2 at bay and secure the Baron to boot.
MDK taking all the right steps here with the soul spawning in 10 seconds. Just a dominant game from start to finish. They've leveraged their strong laners very well. They've been punishing the mistakes that we've been seeing consistently from G2 in this game. And they're on track to bring us to a game 5.
So much neutral damage, neutral objective damage here in this composition as well. Flexing that, taking the dragon as well. Now going to head down into bot on this stacked wave. And you can imagine this is going to be a tier 2. With this Infernal Soul, the poke is going to really add up too. They can layer some CC if they want to. Buy ultimate into a Smolder. It's an insane composition. But looks like they're going to recall.
Start the recalls, do them together, now stop them because they see G2 advancing. Yike able to dodge away for the moment. The True Shot Barrage alongside the concussive blows. The Infernal Soul helping MDK send Yike back to the fountain, now in a 5v4. He continues to rain the damage down. Supa eats a Void Seeker. Broken Blade dashes forward, hits the Q3, but Elyoya does the same. Gives a love punch into Broken Blade. With only a cannon minion here remaining, MDK decide to back away.
MDK ultimately got what they came for and more, securing a pick onto Yike to just add on to all the advantages they've gained. They're going to steal away all these camps too. MDK, I would say, with their cleanest game of the series so far. It's impressive to see how from game to game they've just been ramping up in terms of their execution. And this was just a patient play from them. They had still members hitting onto the Baron. They don't panic when the Nocturne ultimate comes through. They have Braum prioritize keeping Yike locked down, and then G2 gets split up.
I just don't think you can ever contest this as G2. The raw DPS difference when you don't have your Orianna next to you, as well as a dead AD carry, is just never there. They can duo this Nash if they want to, because they can take one of their 3 AD carries to hit the Nash, whilst the rest zone. So frustration maybe from G2, knowing they get outskilled.
Yike might just be dead. No flash, concussive blows comes out, the paranoia. I mean, all that means is you die in the dark. The Nocturne's down. Fresskowy, the killer instinct in. Ooh, he's knocked airborne as he tried to jump over the wall. Hansama going in further. Fresskowy's going to flash away. It was the shockwave, as you say, the combo with the Orianna killer instinct. There to try and take out Fresskowy. Cap splashes across, dodges the Glacial Fissure. Mom is rung by Myrwn. Shadowing Strike from Mikyx will buy him a second on the top side. Hansama caught up with a cease and desist, and he'll fall. Mikyx jumps back in, trying to save his mid laner, but all he can do is buy him a second. Caps down, G2 down, MDK pushing down mid.
The AD carries reign supreme in this game. The dive coming in from G2, knowing that the meta, trying to counter it, but it just isn't enough. All series long, we've had the same dynamic, and MDK sticking to their guns once again come out on top.
We wondered if they'd wake up for the season finals. Winter was the last time we saw them battling at the top. Here, MDK have come to say, we'll take you all the way to Game 5.
Question marks still raised around G2's early game. Some of the decisions, some of the execution choices that they made. allowed MDK to build this early lead and just absolutely dominate. Impressive stuff. As I said, their cleanest game of the series so far. They got that early lead, they controlled the game, got Soul, got Baron, and they bring us to game 5.
And if you're going to get into that ARAM, you better get in quick because we're going to go to a short break and we'll be right back after this.